I'm Davy. I'm awesome. And welcome to Davy's Awesome Movies, where I review the styles of movies that I love, the alternative, B-rated, cult-style flicks. And this week, one of my favorite movies from my childhood. As an adult, I still like, but not as much. This movie came out in 1989, and it was directed by Mark Goldblatt, and written by Boaz Yankin, based on the Punisher comics created by Jerry Conway, Ross Andru, and John Romita Sr., produced by Mark Caban, and made by New World Pictures, distributed by Live Entertainment, New World International, and Lionsgate. Ladies and gentlemen, The Punisher. The movie opens with a Mafia Lieutenant Dino Moretti getting out of court because he has been acquitted of any wrongdoing involving a police officer who was assassinated with his family. Police officer's name? Frank Castle. He's been fighting and appealing this for 5 years since it happened, and since then they have had a vigilante causing problems in the mafia world, the Punisher. So a reporter asks him if he's worried about the Punisher.
He'll find out what the word punished really means.
No, he's not worried. He should be, though, because spoilers, Frank Castle is the Punisher.
Duh!
They were trying to appeal to people who wouldn't know that. When Dino gets home, he tells his men to search the house, and when you know it, the Punisher is there. There are also reporters outside. This scoop is the bomb! Of course, Dino and his men are dead. Then we go to the Punisher's underground lair, where he likes to sit there, naked, remembering. In this, his wife and 2 daughters died in a car bombing. In the comic books, it was his wife, son, and daughter, and they were killed in Central Park by mafia people for having witnessed a murder. I kind of get the change up there because I believe a car bombing a lot more than I believe that the mafia would be stupid enough to execute somebody in Central Park in broad daylight. Time passes by, and now we go to the crime scene with Lieutenant Jake Berkowitz, played by Lou Gossett Jr.
Lieutenant, are you sticking to your theory that the late Frank Castle and the Punisher are the same person?
Absolutely.
Whereas he believes that, his police captain wants him to stop telling people that.
Frank Castle is dead.
Rest in peace, Ray Stevenson. Then Berkowitz gets approached by a detective, Sam Leary, who wants to be his new partner. Berkowitz asks why he should even consider it. Because she's got no place else to go!
I believe that Frank Castle's the Punisher.
But do you believe in fairies? I do. I do. Then, since the Punisher has killed all the men who were directly involved in the murder of his family, we see a mafia boss who is just returning to the United States, a Gianni Franco, and he is there to unite the crime families. Because who doesn't love a nice old-fashioned reunion? I don't. My family reunions are horrible. Then we see the Punisher's informant, Shake, an out-of-work actor who is a drunk. Someone who for no reason would know this kind of stuff. He's not a criminal, he's just, again, a drunk. Shake is there to tell the Punisher about a big drug shipment that's coming into the docks.
Happy hunting!
Again, why would you know that? Like, really? Criminals are gonna go up to some guy who's like, hey, he's a drunk actor, let's tell him this stuff! But before the boat with the drugs can get to the docks, it's interrupted. Those are some nice balls. The Punisher is also there, and he gets in position. But now he's discovering who else has come to the party. And it's that situation of my enemy is my friend. Not for him. He's going to kill everybody. Why? Because Frank Castle is not interested in taking sides. He is only interested in showing that he has the power. Yes, if Dolph Lundgren is in the movie, I'm making a reference to Masters of the Universe. But as he's kicking ass... Then they shoot the water and assume he's dead. Because apparently nobody saw that episode of Mythbusters where they showed that when bullets hit the water, they're pretty much useless. So of course, he's alive, he gets back to his lair, and treats the stab wound. Sizzling! Now we go to Franco meeting with Lady Tanaka, the mafia boss behind the attack at the docks. She is there to talk about a partnership between her people and their people.
75% for us, 25% for you.
The mafia doesn't think that's very fair.
We go to war.
The Punisher's listening. Then we see the Yakuza's plan to make them give in. Going around and rallying up all the mafia boss's kids. kidnapping them for ransom. Because of this, Shake goes to inform the Punisher.
They're being held for ransom by the Japanese.
Tanaka wants to have a meeting with the Mafia bosses to discuss the release of their children. And all the bosses say that they are going.
I'm not.
Smart man. The Punisher goes to a casino run by the Yakuza. It's a secret underground casino, and it is invite only. He's gonna crash. Too bad nobody was taking bets on that happening.
Every day the children of God is gonna cost you money.
Okay, kill them. Don't open a tab.
Take that message to your people.
And then tell her I want some sushi. Then to further send his message, the Punisher decides to destroy the place. He takes out that big gun and just starts shooting everything. He takes out the gaming tables, the slot machines, the booze.
No!
No booze for you!
Oh, God!
In the morning, Shake takes the Punisher to where he was told the kids are being held. And again, this is just a big gap of logic in this movie, is they don't explain how he would know something like that. They don't talk about who's informing him, why they're informing him. He's not a genius like Microchip in Punisher Warzone, who has a bunch of connections to people with criminal records. No, nothing like that. He's just a drunk actor. And in this movie, they tell us, like, yeah, criminals are going to tell this stuff to a drunk actor, deal with it. But turns out he was misinformed. This was a trap, an ambush. And as they come out to ambush the Punisher, they do it the exact way I would, down that frickin' huge slide. But as badass as the Punisher is, he is also hopelessly outnumbered and surrounded. But instead of killing him, they decide to take him alive and torture him.
Who sent you?
Batman.
Doubtful. They did have a few crossover comics of Batman and the Punisher, and they don't like each other. Since torturing the Punisher is not getting them anywhere, they decide they're going to make him watch as they torture Shake. As if his part in this movie wasn't torture enough. Since they are not getting anywhere with torturing Shake or the Punisher, and Tanaka has that meeting with the Mafia bosses to get to, they all leave with just a couple of inept guards. Like they do in these movies. Which means that this is going to go well.
Sayonara.
They really need to make torture devices harder to get out of. Frank does leave one of them alive to get information about where the kids actually are. That makes sense. And the guy doesn't hesitate. He just tells them exactly where the kids are, and then they flip the switch to the torture device and walk out. Kind of messed up. But then again, he deserves it. At the meeting, it turns out, surprise, surprise, it was a setup to get the Mafia bosses there so they could kill them and take over all their operations. So now Franco is the only one left, and the only one standing in their way of completely dominating New York. Frank arrives where the kids are in a stolen bus to get the kids out of there. But as he's getting the kids on, he finds out that 2 kids are not with them. So he has to go back for them. Frank quickly finds Tommy, who is the son of Franco, and Tommy and him go to find a little girl named Kathy.
I came back for my dolly.
Really? Your dad could buy you a new doll. Never mind. Get your dolly.
Let him go!
Because of this, Frank is able to get away, but not with Tommy.
They've got him. I'll get him back.
Of course, they're chased in that bus, but with some good driving, Frank is able to get behind one of the cars chasing him. But because of all the chaos, the police have set up a barricade. So now, even though this means he's going to be arrested, Frank pulls the bus over to let the children off. The Punisher's not going to try and kill the cops. He doesn't kill innocent people. But now Berkowitz wants to talk with his old friend Frank.
Frank is dead.
Berkowitz pleads with Frank Castle to talk to him, let him help him, but Frank Castle refuses. Continues with the Frank is dead stuff. And then later, as they are transporting the Punisher to a federal prison, Detective Leary tells the Punisher that Berkowitz has resigned, and that he broke his heart. And now, someone doesn't want Frank getting to prison. You think it's Daredevil? That would have been cool. Then again, this was 1989, so no, it wouldn't have. When Castle wakes up...
What happened to your family wasn't supposed to. If I could undo it, I would, but I can't.
Yeah, you don't get a mulligan on that. Franco wants the Punisher's help getting his son Tommy back. As incentive, he brings in Berkowitz, says he's going to kill him if the Punisher doesn't help him. He also tells the Punisher, once it's over, you can have whatever you want.
When this is over, you're dead.
You said whatever he wants. Later, Berkowitz says he's got to pee. Dumbass.
Hey man, I got the pizza.
Not the pizza! While this is going on, the Punisher and Franco storm Tanaka's. But as they are going around killing everything that moves,
How nice to see you again.
Franco finds his son Tommy with Tanaka and that really freaky white woman that she adopted for whatever reason. When Franco catches up to Tanaka, he's surrounded. Frank is going to take care of that weird chick. But she's going to make a point. And because of that, he gives her a break. That's what you get for that bad Princess Leia cosplay. Now Franco is alone with Tanaka and his son.
Put the gun in your mouth.
He's desperate, and she tells him that this chance of his son living is better than no chance.
Goodbye, Mr. Franco.
Where's the Punisher? Yeah, there he is. Now that Tommy is safe, Franco tells him to wait outside. And then once he's outside, Franco decides he's going to take out the Punisher.
See you in hell, Castle.
Dad!
Kids never listen.
Dad, get off him!
Oh, you are so grounded when you get home. And no dessert.
I'm gonna kill you.
Oh, now you're on your dad's side? A little late. But Frank Castle is not going to fight him. He just gets on his knees and puts the gun right to his forehead.
Do it.
But Tommy can't do it. Frank tells him it's okay, he's a good kid.
Grow up to be a good man.
Yes, become a good man because that's the right thing to do. Break the cycle that your father was on and improve the world.
Because if not, I'll be waiting.
That too. Just then, Berkowitz shows up and follows the trail of Frank's blood up to the roof. Dude, keep looking around. It's not like he can fly. But the Punisher does get away and gets back to his lair.
The guilty will be punished.
And so will those bastards who didn't make a sequel to this. So there you have it. That's the first original 1989 version of The Punisher. This movie was considered a flop. Didn't do that well at first. I mean, it had a $9 million budget, but it was straight to video, so there's no box office to speak of. However, initial video sales and rentals were not what they were hoping for. I mean, it didn't take them long to make their money back, but they didn't expect a huge profit, and they didn't get one. Mainly because this is just the way that superhero movies were treated in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. It wasn't until 2000 when X-Men came out that they started realizing, like, oh, if we actually put some money and effort into these movies, they can make us some money.
Duh.
Which I've criticized Hollywood for many times. Like, it really took you that long to figure out that nerds will waste their money on worthless crap. Originally, Dolph Lundgren was not who they wanted to play the Punisher. Christopher Lambert, who was still hot off the success of The Highlander, was the one who was supposed to play Frank Castle. But due to an ankle injury that required surgery, he had to pull out, and Dolph Lundgren ended up getting the job. He was also still hot off of Rocky IV, movies like Masters of the Universe, and so on. But somebody else who was interested in the role was Steven Seagal. He didn't get it. And I'm kind of glad. I don't know if I could picture him as the Punisher. Like, hey, I punish the guilty. There were rumors that Michael Perry was supposed to play the Punisher, but as years have gone on, he's done interviews and said, no, there's no truth to that. I was never supposed to play the Punisher. Might have been interesting, but I think Dolph Lundgren actually did a good job. I wouldn't say he's done the best job as the Punisher, but he did a pretty good job capturing the essence of the Punisher. Angry, unfeeling, out to punish the guilty. In a couple of countries, this movie was actually banned because of all the violence in it. But years later, it was released to DVD and VHS. Which, makes sense. It has a body count of 91. As far as this movie's reviews goes, most of the critics and audience had declared that it was okay. That was the overall consensus. It's okay, it's not bad, they don't love it, they don't hate it. Personally, until I set out to do this review, I had not actually watched this movie since I was a teenager. As a kid, I really loved this movie. As a teenager, with better stuff, with better graphics and budgets coming out, didn't care for it. But as an adult, in my opinion, it still holds up as a good action flick. It just doesn't hold up as a superhero comic book movie. One thing I know was little, but I really feel was a mistake, was the director, Mark Goldblatt, did not put the skull on his shirt. The iconic Punisher skull was only on his knives. He did that because he said he wanted to distance it from the comic books And I honestly disagree with that move. The other two movies that have come out since then, and even the TV show, the Punisher skull is very prevalent, and it needs to be. It's what makes up the Punisher. I'm not one of those fans that's going to complain that it didn't hold up to the comic books. That just doesn't really work, translating comic books to television. You kind of have to take some liberties. However, I will agree with a lot of comic book fans that this didn't really have the feel of the Punisher. It more had the feel of a movie like Cobra or Death Wish, something like that. However, like I said, as an action flick in and of itself, I think it's really good. I think it still holds up. I understand why there were no sequels, why they didn't really go on with it. Kind of a couple years later, when the Punisher video game for Nintendo came out, they did have some references to this movie in it. But this movie just, in my opinion, did not have a chance to live on very long after its initial release. However, it has a cult following, and a deserving cult following. Whereas I would not say it's the best of the 3 Punisher movies that have come out, I honestly would say it's the worst, but I still think it's entertaining and worth watching. So, if you have not seen the 1989 version of The Punisher with Dolph Lundgren, then I think as a movie nerd or even a comic book nerd, you should do yourself a favor and check out the 1989 version of The Punisher. So there you have it. That's my movie review this week. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and if you did, make sure to hit like, hit subscribe, hit the little bell so you get notifications when I post new videos, and leave a comment. Tell me what you thought of the 1989 version of The Punisher. Tell me which of the 3 Punisher movies is your favorite. Love you guys.